Hello, welcome to Eternity Now. I'm Chuck Young. Today, we've got a special guest, NaomiStriemer. NaomiStriemer is a singer, a speaker, and an author, and has a wonderful story to tell us about her life and how the Lord has affected her life. Naomi, welcome to Eternity Now. Thank you so much for being here.
It's really good to be here, so thank you.
Tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you're from and where you live now, and just what are you up to lately?
I was born in New York, but I grew up on the east coast of Canada, Nova Scotia, and have lived between the two countries my whole life, but now my husband and I live in Tennessee. We live in Franklin, Tennessee. We love it. I grew up in a small little town on the east coast of Canada, on a farm, homeschooled, very secluded. And, I wanted to chase this big dream of being a singer when I grew up, not knowing what it really was about. And that's what I did. I went headfirst into the pop world of music, signed big $1 million contract, had a lot of wonderful opportunities to work with some legendary people, and it finally got to a point where I just didn't want to feel the emptiness that comes with being in, I think, anything that the world says this is success and this is something really, really good. It just was leaving me a little empty, a little heartbroken at times. And I wanted something more, and I knew God had that something more for me. So I finally made the decision to walk away and to see what God had planned for my life.
Now, how old were you when you first got interested in being a singer?
I was little. I declared it for the first time when I was 6. And by the time I was 10, I was begging my dad to sing all the time. And by the time I was 13, it was my full-time job, I was going to become this singer. And by the time I was 18, I had the $1 million deal. Now,
you mentioned that you had recorded with and were involved with some really big-name people at one time. Who are some of those people?
Well, it started off, I was working with the same producers as Madonna and just the biggest pop stars at the time, and I went on to work with producers who had made the careers of Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey and Aretha Franklin and Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder, and the list goes on and on and on. And outside of the producer realm, I was able to work with the guitar legend Carlos Santana. You don't need to hear his name to hear his guitar, and it's him. And of course, Randy Jackson from American Idol. So, wonderful people, but it just wasn't right for me.
Randy Jackson was one of the judges, one of the famous judges on American Idol.
That's right.
Did you ever think about being on American Idol at that time?
For me, and I ended up working with Randy for 6 months, so I got to bring my mom to American Idol, and we got to sit there and experience the whole thing. But I was always in contracts and working on records and kind of doing what those kids were auditioning to do. And now I look at it, and it has become such a part of today's culture that, my dream came from this little seed that was planted where I just love music. And now I think kids are chasing these dreams less about their love for music and more about their love for fame. And society has become so based on this, I'm a YouTube sensation, or I've got so many followers on Twitter, and it's all about these lifting ourselves up, and that's what the world wants to do, and that's what the devil wants to do. Let's put you on this pedestal, and then what inevitably is going to happen is you're going to crash, and you're going to burn, and you're going to crumble, and just be destroyed internally.
It sounds like you were poised to move into just the world of being a pop star. When you made that decision, what were some of the things going through your head, or the events that the Lord brought your way that perhaps changed your mind in that?
Well, it was mainly one conversation when I was questioning the Lord a lot, and it was from a chauffeur in a studio in New York City, and he had come to me with this dream that he had, and it was an angel's message about my life, and it had shocked me and changed me to such an extent that when I had the next opportunity and I was working with Randy, and being around all of these celebrities at his studio, it just didn't feel right anymore. And in that dream, the man had said, you know, you can keep chasing after your dreams and you can continue to be heartbroken, or you can stop chasing your dreams and just chase after Jesus and see what he has planned for you. And then all your dreams will come true. And you know, that oxymoron doesn't make sense until you just relinquish all of your own plans. And as the months progressed, I just had this feeling, and I just was beginning to sense everything moving around me. And it seemed as though that battle between good and evil in all of our lives, with the decisions we make, was just getting more intense and more intense. And I thought, if ever there's a chance for me to get out, I think this is it. And I have to see what God has planned for me. And, you know, of course, I had a lot of family members and friends telling me I was just crazy for walking away from a big opportunity and a big potential deal. But I had to know what God had for me.
It's amazing. Someone else's dream that the Lord gave them is what affected your decision, a life-changing decision that you made. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Now, from that point, you moved on beyond the music world. You began to speak. You've written a book. You started writing a book, and it's called BackStagePass. We actually have a copy of that. I'd like to hold that up for a second, so maybe we could zoom in on that and get a good look at it. Tell us a little bit about how you phased into your speaking, and now you're an author.
Well, God moves pretty quickly when we say, you can have it, here's my life. He says, okay, finally, I can start working. And it wasn't 2 months after I walked away from the opportunity with Randy Jackson that I got a call to be a youth speaker in the very place that I grew up in Nova Scotia, the very camp that I attended. And I knew that that was not just chance or, oh, look at this. I knew it was something divine. And when I got there, I just happened to meet the man that I was going to marry. Yeah,
what a coincidence.
You know, God acts quickly when we say, take my life and use me. So from that point on, you know, I was going into that going, I'm not a speaker. I was a teacher. I used to teach a lot of Bible classes, and I preached once. And that really set me up, and I realized I had a passion for it, and I really loved connecting with people and sharing my story and sharing what God had done and hearing other people's story and the journeys that they were on. And it just turned into what is now the book, where people were saying, we want to hear more. And I never would have thought ever. I was a little scared at first when people were saying, you write songs, you can write a book. And I was like, really? A little bit different. But, you know, looking back, I really think God was the author, and I was just, you know, the one he used to write the story.
What a wonderful story. Now, what span of time between when you decided not to be a pop star and then the Lord led you back to your home, he took you back home and began to kind of rebuild things again for you and brought you, of course, the love of your life, your husband. What's his name?
His name is Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh, what a wonderful name.
It is.
There.
Yes, it is.
That was probably a sign right there. Well, yeah, what was the span of time involved with when you went back to Nova Scotia and then to where you are right now?
Oh, that's been a little over 3 years from the moment that I met my husband at that camp. And the journey, you know, literally everyone, again, thought I was crazy because within weeks we knew this was it. And I moved. I was living in Los Angeles. I moved from Los Angeles back to the Maritimes of Canada. And we got to this point where we were such in a secluded area that I thought, well, maybe this is the plan. And I started to pray to God, well, if we are just to be the normal suburban family, then that's what we'll be. If we are meant to be in ministry, then open the door. And as soon as I prayed that, every door for us to stay there and just to have these normal lives with normal jobs, they all closed. And every door for ministry opened. And so we sold the house. My husband left his job. and we said, let's go see what God has. And literally, we were on tour all through Canada and Australia, all over the place, for a year, almost a year and a half.
Now, when you went on tour, what did that entail? What were you doing on tour?
Concerts, speaking. It was just all ministering to people in churches, conferences, all kinds of things like that. And we had set out where it was just going to be a month or something like that, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and there were really some trying times, and I think God was saying, okay, let's just refine you a little bit, and while the devil was going, I'm gonna break your spirit, and we had times where, you know, we were supposed to be on flights and we ended up on buses, and every time, the difference of doing concerts when I was in the pop world and doing concerts now is, it doesn't matter if before there might have been a couple thousand people and now there was a couple hundred, or even sometimes, you know, 50 or 30 people. Every time my husband and I would drive away, and we would have this glow, because either someone would have shared a story or something has happened, and you could just feel the presence of God, and it didn't matter what was going on, we had received a blessing.
Well, that's just an incredible story, how the Lord has led you across the country doing your ministry and your speaking. And does your husband also speak and share?
He stays in the background. He helps me afterward. He sits with the merchandise table and he talks to people, and he's the one who always makes sure if you know, I'll give you an example. If, for instance, somebody comes up and if I'm singing before a speaker and they say, this is my topic, and he'll go, honey, you know what would be a great song for that, this one, and I go, I would have never thought of that. So he's like this silent, strong support beam who comes up with these phenomenal ideas along the way.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's what he's supposed to be doing too. So now tell us a little bit about your book, BackStagePass, and is it essentially your story from where it began to where you are now?
It is. It is the ins and the outs of all the moments in the industry. If somebody ever wanted a little bird's eye view, it's in there. And of course, it's my own personal struggle, and it's my conversations with God. A lot of it and I think, you know, even though it's a story of my journey in, you know, music, I think we all go through those ebbs and flow and the mountains and the valleys and the questions of, God, why is this happening to me? And then, of course, that triumphant moment where it was, I don't care what happens to me, Lord, I am yours, and you can just have everything.
Amen. Now, during those times, I'm sure that, you know, we all hear of the dark side of music, especially in the pop world and out in Hollywood, and there's been quite a few books that have been written about that and stories told about that. Is there anything that you'd like to share about your experience with that people might be interested in hearing? Well,
you know, I think because I always stayed so true to my roots, you know, I would find church services to go to wherever I was. My experience was a little different, where I was in the studio many times reading scripture to people. And it was funny because I witnessed so much when I was in the pop world, but never publicly. It was always privately. And I believe it was a ministry, but it just was me hiding my love for Christ to the people that I knew around me. And of course, I was smart enough to never get caught up. I never got caught up when those around me were doing the drugs and they were getting into the alcohol, and that's a big part of it. That's a really big part of it. I can't tell you how many writing sessions I was in where people were, you know, not completely sober at all, and I just somehow, I think God always protected me in all the situations.
During that time when you would be witnessing behind the scenes, and then you would step out and you'd be a pop star for a while, how did that make you feel at that time? Did it give you a kind of a two-faced persona that you sensed at that time that made you uncomfortable?
Well, the only thing that I can relate to, and I've only discovered this looking back, but people would always ask me, you should be so excited. Don't you see what's happening to you? You know, like the things that are being said and the success that you're on the verge of. And And I always felt like it wasn't real and it wasn't true. And oftentimes my parents would say, you seem like you're not believing it. And I don't think I did. I always felt like it was going to end badly. And the difference now is, now I'm so excited and so happy all the time, and I don't have this pressure. I had a lot of pressure when I was in the pop. Every day that you get a little older, you feel a lot of pressure because you're not the young one anymore. You're, some more talented is coming up behind you, and that's all gone now. And the beauty is there's no age on ministry. It's not about the way you look. It's not about, it's your relationship with God. And that is just so fulfilling. And now it's not me in control. I'm not in control of my career or my life or my destiny. Now it's all God. So now in everything that happens, I get so excited, and it's real to me now. And I don't care if it succeeds in one way or another. To me, it's God's plan, so it is all succeeding. And that's really the difference that I see.
It's like it's gone from some producer's agenda to God's agenda, which, of course, we don't always know what that agenda is. And it's so much more comforting to know that He's at the helm. That is just wonderful. You've shared so much about your story now, but if you wanted to say something about what's at the very heart of your music and just what's going on in your life right now, what would you say that is?
I think the most important thing is the message that we all have a story to share. We all have experiences, and it's through these experiences that God gives us the tools that we can use to witness to someone else. Sometimes sharing our own personal stories is exactly what someone else needs to find what that relationship means to have a relationship with God. So in my ministry, I want to encourage others to share those hard times with others, to share what God has done in their lives. And it doesn't matter what's happening. It might feel so important, and it might hurt a lot, but just that reassurance that God is with you. He is there. He has not left you. He hears you. He has a plan. Don't ever forget He has a plan for each of our lives. He had the plan before we were born, and that's something to hold on to. And I think when we start focusing on that kingdom, everything else kind of fades away.
That is so well said. Now, you've got some new music that you've released. In fact, you've got a brand new CD, Hope That Breaks the Dark. I want to set that up so we can possibly get a shot of that right now. And you've got one brand new song on there. Tell us about that song, and then let's listen to a clip of that.
Absolutely. It's called You Are Beautiful. And it is about God's beauty when we see things, and boy, has He given us a lot to see. We see babies, we see flowers. You can't step outside without seeing something that's gorgeous, and what we're really seeing is God in all of these things. So that's what it is. It's the praise to God, saying, Lord, You are beautiful.
Let's listen to that right now. You Are Beautiful by NaomiStriemer.
Beautiful. Watch the sun go by. It's plain to see everything inside, reminding me that You are in my life. You're holding me when I can't find the light. You burn it brighter every breath I take. Bird it's plain to see everything inside, reminding me that you are in my life. You're holding me when I can't find the light. You are beautiful, our Emmanuel. Every knee should bow at the sound of your name. You are beautiful, every miracle that our anthem ring. You are beautiful.
Wow, that was so wonderful.
It was good. Praise
Now,
God.
when you wrote that song, what inspired you to write such a beautiful song?
I think it was just the focus on God. And, you know, when we're going through these journeys in our lives, God doesn't say you have to be perfect before you can come to me. He says, I see it. I don't see your flaws. I see you. I see the perfect you. And when we realize that God's just saying, come to me in whatever state you are, that was where the beginning of this inspiration came from. And the first line we had was you know, watch the sun go by. And you just see the love around you all the time. God is in everything, and He's just saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. And we just wanted to write about it.
Oh, that's just such a beautiful song. I'm going to have to get this CD. How can people get in touch with you now, and what would be your preferred way if they wanted to access just you and talk to you, or learn a little more about your music?
Absolutely. I love hearing from people. So instead of a website or anything, I'm gonna direct people to Facebook. You know, let's get real. So if people go and they just type in NaomiStriemer music into Facebook, or just my name, it'll come up. Let's become friends. Send me an email. I want to hear your stories. That's it.
I bet you're available for some performances also, aren't you?
People can reach out to me for anything at all. I'm there to listen. It's not an assistant. It's just me behind that little Facebook screen.
Well, I can say from firsthand experience, the first time that I heard you sing was at our Kentucky-Tennessee camp meeting of Seventh-day Adventists this past summer.
Yeah.
And it was such a beautiful, beautiful thing to hear you sing, because you got a marvelous
Praise
voice.
God.
And in fact, I was thinking at the time, I thought, now this girl is a world-class singer, and I had not ever heard of you at that point, which is to my discredit. So
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong
and
with
you
that.
also shared quite a bit of your story, which was really, you know, a wonderful experience. So in fact, I tried to say something to you afterwards, and I remember you walking by, and someone else caught me, and I got stuck talking to someone else. So I'm so thankful that I've had this chance to speak to you today.
Thank you. Me as well.
Tell me this, you know, when NaomiStriemer is not singing or speaking or ministering, what else are you and your husband doing? What do you like to do just in your spare time, and what do you enjoy?
We are adventurers. We love the outdoors. We are, you know, a couple weekends ago we had the weekend off, and we got a canoe and we went sailing down the river, and with our dog.
What river was that?
The Harpeth River.
The Harpeth.
Beautiful.
My wife and I went down the Harpeth on her birthday a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Yeah,
it is gorgeous.
It's really beautiful.
We were thinking we got to get our fishing license. We got to go fishing, and you know, if we're not doing that, we're out hiking or biking. We love mountain biking. I love baking, even though I'm gluten-free and vegan. So baking can be challenging, and I might be the only one eating it at the end, but I enjoy doing it.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and then, you know, just normal things like board games and simple stuff.
Sounds like a fun life you guys are living. Now, I think it's a wonderful thing that you and Jordan have settled here in the Nashville area, haven't you?
Yes, we have.
All the way from Nova Scotia to, well, actually from New York is where you were born, and then to Nova Scotia, and then to L.A., and then back to Nova Scotia, and now you're in the Nashville area.
We're in God's country now.
Yeah, tell us a little about that.
Well, we love it, and it turned out that, well, majority of the people I was working with lived right here, and a good friend of ours said, "What are you doing in Canada? You got to come out here and just be with us." And we thought, well, you know, when we put that call out to God and we were on that road, we thought, well, let's land there. Let's see what happens. And it has been wonderful.
It has been such a pleasure to have you on Eternity Now. I just can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having you here and sharing your music and your life story. Thank you so much for being here for our interview with NaomiStriemer. What a blessing that's been. I hope you come back next time.